This episode of Power Women of the Trades is also brought to you by Forrest Perry of Forrest Perry Digital Marketing. Want to generate more leads for your service business? Trust his team to deliver quality new customer leads and protect your brand online. Check out perrymarketing.com today.
Hello everyone. We want to give a quick shout out to our amazing partner, Rilla, the game changer in the home service industry. Rilla's virtual ride-along software means no more physical ride-alongs. With Rilla, you can coach your team virtually 100 times faster and boost your close sale rates like never before. Don't miss out. Join the movement today and watch your sales soar. Visit rilla.com/PWT to learn more.
Most businesses' online presence is boring. And by being boring, they're losing out on potential sales and customers. Being interesting and exciting is what draws customers in and gets them to buy from you. But it's hard to be interesting online when you're focused on running your business and taking care of your customers. It doesn't have to be this way. We have the key to unlocking the solution to your problem. Key Heart Marketing can help take your business from boring to brilliant on social media. We can vouch for them. They run our podcast socials. If you want to have a strong social media presence that allows customers to know, like, and trust you, connect with Key Heart Marketing at keyheartmarketing.com. Welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Power Women of the Trades podcast with Cassie and Heather. Today we have Jenny Benbrook with Powerhouse Consulting Group. Hey, Jenny, how are you?
I am so well. It's great to be here with you both today. Being a woman in the trades, I followed you since you launched the podcast. So excited to have such a strong voice out there for women, talking about what we're doing in the trades, the work that we're doing, how we lift each other up. I've enjoyed following you every step of the way. So truly an honor to be here with y'all.
Jenny, so it's nice to formally meet you. I have heard about you through the grapevine. I've heard your name. We use the same, I believe we talked to you through PR, Ripley PR.
Oh, yes, yeah. Ripley, Heather, and team.
Yeah, so they had told us all about you. And so it's like so great to like put a face to the name and all of that. So tell us about how you have gotten, I want to know it all. Like when I was reading your bio, you know, you're the founder of Powerhouse Consulting Group, a leading firm specializing in consulting and coaching for software. But how did you get to that?
It was a long journey to get to this. I started in the trades almost 2 decades ago, and it's changed quite a bit since then. But the intent of wanting to continuously be better or provide better services for contractors has never wavered throughout the different roles that I've taken in the industry, which ultimately led to founding Powerhouse when we identified this particular need with software adoption. But starting from day one, I was fresh out of college, recruited to a marketing firm out of Tampa, Florida. My first week there, the owner, it was a small firm at the time, they're now one of the industry's largest. The owner said, "Hey, we just opened the carrier account in California. Can you fly out and represent us?" And I said, "Sure. What's a carrier? Tell me all about it." And that was really how it started. But it opened up the most incredible journey through the trades, totally unexpected. I often joke when people say, "How did you end up in HVAC?" Because it's such an off the wall thing for especially females, to land a fully fledged career in the trades. But it was one of those happenstance stories where I landed at this incredible company, and for the next 5 years or so, traveled every square inch of the state of California, calling on every carrier and Bryant dealer across the state. I think at one point I was up to personally calling on about 350 carrier and Bryant dealers. And it was such an incredible and valuable experience, because when I say calling on them, what began as getting to know their business to determine what group marketing package they would go into. I don't know if you guys remember the rise of group marketing packages through the OEMs, turned into a deep appreciation for a contractor's business and an understanding of how marketing is related to everything within the company, from the way a call is answered, to the way a technician shows up in home, to a sales process, to an estimate follow-up process. All of it is intertwined, and marketing became so much more. It became a goal of figuring out strategically what plans work in this market versus this market. How do we align a budget with growth goals, and really began to take more of an operational approach to building marketing strategy for clients. That evolved because we saw SEO enter the market. When I started, we didn't even have digital marketing. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy.
We were just placing ads in the phone book, and everything was simple. Life was good. And then here comes Google.
I was just going to say that, like, if you said 20 years ago, that would have been like where everybody was trying to market in the phone book or on the front of the phone book.
That's
and
right. Double check ads.
There was no pay-per-click. There was no SEO. I mean, billboards were a thing, but trade contractors weren't using them.
That's right. That's right. Well, and that, you may remember there, it's interesting you say billboards, because that was a marketing wave that we saw. There was a company out of, I want to say it was out of Houston, if I recall correctly, one of the larger companies, which even that back then, the larger companies were like 8 million.
Right.
They were behemoths back then.
Right.
And he started placing the infamous billboard, "Your wife is hot."
Oh,
do you guys remember those? And that was like what kicked off the billboard craze in the industry. But you're right, Heather. It was really traditional marketing is what we focused on: media buys, direct mail. And then websites. I mean, websites weren't a thing. We sold pre-bill carrier websites, and it was the exact same site sold hundreds of times.
Yeah. It cracks me up how the evolution of the marketing.
That's so interesting.
Marketing, that was probably one of the first major technology waves that hit the industry, where there was a lot of reluctance to spend money in order to show up online. And we were still in that traditional mindset of, I can never take my ad out of the yellow pages. How would customers find me? And so it was relearning the market and what customers expect. But I think the really overwhelming thing that I realized was, all of a sudden, it became very difficult for contractors to run their own marketing internally, because it was a different level of expertise that they needed to have, subject matter expertise, and winning the algorithm, or writing, keyword rich content, or whatever it was. And so that was a really interesting journey that I went on, going to work for one of the first digital marketing companies that specifically served the trades. Started as a boutique agency, and we grew it. It really did become quite impactful for contractors that were adopting digital marketing trends. I eventually went off on my own shortly after that to offer fractional CMO services to contractors. Some of the first contractors that I called on went on to serve them with fractional CMO services. And again, taking more of that operational approach to intimately understanding their business and creating plans and strategies that focused on the holistic needs, whether it was poor conversion rates in the home. So if we're getting leads in, but they're not converting, we need to do additional sales training or best practices groups. And that eventually led to adopting FSM technology. And like most of you and probably your listeners, it was, we don't have anyone else to implement this for us. Here, can you figure it out? And so sort of learned ServiceTitan by trial and error, determining, for example, Marketing Pro. How do I build a marketing campaign on memberships, but we have no membership plan in place? Or, there's no solid process on how to sell or book these. And that really spawned the idea that this is the next wave of technology in our space that I'm not even sure all contractors are aware of how overwhelming it is to try to learn and master this tool that runs your entire company.
Right.
And we see great intentions of, I'm going to try to learn it, I'm going to give it all I have, or I'm going to dedicate my office manager to implement it. And so it's like this fractured plan of how you're going to get the most of an incredibly powerful software. And so what we wanted to provide was a third-party service that could guide contractors through successful implementation or optimization for those that are already on the software or perhaps have systemic issues with it.
So is that what so sorry, I just want to back up a second. So is that what Powerhouse Consulting Group is a group that will help you implement your ServiceTitan? I just want to kind of dumb it down respectfully, for the people listening of I think sometimes we get lost in the sauce of well, wait, what are the offers and what do you do? So it sounds like one of your biggest offerings is helping contractors integrate.
That's right. It's helping contractors master their software. That's the easiest way to say it.
Master their software. And are you exclusive to? I'm sorry.
Are you just focusing on the marketing piece? Because I wanted to ask you a question on the marketing piece. You've been in this you said over 2 decades. I know 15 years ago, trying to convince a contractor to spend 5 to 8% of their revenue on marketing was kind of a lot tougher of a feat than it is today. So what are some of the strategies that you use to convince contractors the value of marketing spend?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you asked that question, because I think I've actually tied this analogy into an intentional budget for your technology. So you're right. When we first had that rule of thumb and you're tying 5 to 8%, and I think, it ranged. You can also hear 8 to 12% if you focus on extreme growth, but tying that to your revenue goals. And what that allowed us to do was to build a very intentional budget that said, this is what I need to spend in order to achieve my goals. And so you're taking in all of the other criteria, sort of working backward at my current close rate, how many leads do I need to generate and by what department? And then you build out the budget and your channels from there. That has actually become more acceptable. It's been around for so long that it's a common rule of thumb when you're planning out. So if you work with any of the best practices groups, that's a part of their planning workshops where you're going to lay out your marketing budget and build your plan around that very intentional budget. What we've seen over the past couple of years, and to very directly answer Cassie's question, we founded Powerhouse to provide contractors with outsourced expertise for getting the most out of their primary FSM. We started as ServiceTitan's first certified partner. We've grown to represent multiple FSMs in the market, but of course, ServiceTitan being our most prominent. And so what we aim to do is, it really, to make sense of it is the best way to say it, because there's a lot of unknown when it comes to tech. Am I getting the most out of this? Am I using it correctly? Do I have issues with my data? Did I build out Dispatch Pro correctly? Or how is my marketing working? There's so many questions of uncertainty. We aim to come in, evaluate what a contractor has going on, understand their business goals, and then develop a plan of how to build that software so that they are getting the most out of it, that their teams are running more efficiently. But what we've seen, even just in the 5 years since we founded Powerhouse, was another wave of technology where now we're all used to FSMs. We're all used to the fact that we need some sort of dispatch service software to run the company. It's very rare you see a contractor on pen and paper anymore. So now we're all comfortable with this, but we're seeing another wave in third-party tech tools that integrate with your FSM or enhance your FSM or enhance some certain parts. So if you think like AI-powered coaching ride-alongs that integrate with ServiceTitan or marketing, there's so many marketing options.
So this has been a huge week for us. Like, it's funny that you're in this, you're our first podcast after the week that we've had. So our business quality is in a major market. Heather's like laughing. She's got that laugh of like, oh, what is she going to say? Anyways, we're in a major marketing shift right now. And for a lot of reasons, or for actually a really specific reason, but I'm not going to go into all of that, T. But specifically, one thing like what you're saying is, okay, so I can go back into like, we started this business in 2014 and we didn't market at all until 2019 or so, right? And then we were like really slow. Our first website was like the free website we built on GoDaddy. Kelly, our director of operations, I was like, your first website was our first website. Like, that sucked. You know, it cracks us up like where we've come from, right? But just the things like you're saying that has changed in the past 5 years is insane. We had one marketing company that we were with for 4 years, and we're making a big shift with that right now. And when I gave them access to everything, I am now taking all of those things back, but also so many things that I'm having to or like adopt now that I had let someone else handle before. And it's all of these integrations, right? And so my list is just like, okay, Google Analytics, Google Search Console, GBP is what we call it now, right? GBP, not GMB. Yeah. Then we've got our CallRail account and this account and that account and all of these accounts. And then the Zapier account that goes to tie all those together. And that's super overwhelming for me, who I consider myself a pretty good marketer, right? Like, I have a pretty good control, a pretty good grip. Like, I would say my primary job is marketing as the vice president owner of the company, right? So for your average contractor who is wearing so many other hats, it's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot. And you just touched on marketing. Right. So now think about all of the other tools that contractors are being marketed to. I mean, I'm sure. So you as a business owner, how many times a day do you get a solicitation for a new tech product that's going to revolutionize your business? Or think about jumping on Facebook. Oh my gosh, on Facebook, you've got like influencers galore saying this is going to 10x your revenue. And it's all glamour, and all of it is promising to change your business, whether it's a marketing agency saying that they're going to own all of this, or some third-party integration that's going to revolutionize your sales process. And I go back to a contractor's intent. Every contractor wants what those solutions offer, but fail to go into it with an intentional plan, or often fail to go into it with an intentional plan, because it takes a lot of work to organize what tech is doing, what vendors are doing, what ownership do you have to retain? How do you read the data? How do you hold your vendors accountable? Where do you access that? How can you validate it? And that's where we start to see this snowball effect. And I would say probably it's been a little longer, maybe a year and a half ago or so. Our contractors kept coming to us, our ServiceTitan clients, saying, hey, I just signed up for this new tool, or I'm considering this. Can you look into it? Can you tell me if it's good? What we began to realize was contractors want to make the best decision. They don't want to buy into tools that aren't going to serve them. But there's so little there's so much that they don't understand about what they already have. Let's think about ServiceTitan. incredibly powerful product, most contractors are only using a fraction of what ServiceTitan can do.
Yeah.
And so going back,
I say that on a regular basis. We've been on
Yeah.
ServiceTitan for 5 years. Is that right? That seems impossible, but I think it's right. But
time flies when you're having fun.
Oh my gosh. Like, was it 2020 or 2021? Either way, 4 or 5 years, right? And we pay like a small fortune for ServiceTitan monthly because we are big. We love the pro products. We have Marketing Pro, we have Phones Pro, we have all the pros, right? But, and so we, you can imagine our bill. Okay. But all the time I'm telling Heather, I'm like, girl, look at this. And I know that we're only using still a fraction of what is offered out there. And then, one specific thing, for example, right now, our payroll process is taking our directors like a full day to prepare it on a Monday, which is already a crap show.
Chaotic day.
And it's taken a full day to prepare the payroll. And I'm like, guys, I know that ServiceTitan can do this. We just don't have it set up, and we haven't found the right person to set it up to the level that we need it set up. Right. But again, and I'm not trying to say like this real, I don't want to say this. I don't know. I want this to come off as like helpful as I mean it. You would think that we would have our shit together on that, right? So most people think so. So I say that to the people listening of like, listen, we're at the level that we're at with the trucks that we have, and we don't have our shit together on our ServiceTitan still. And we've had the people come in and the help and this and that, and that's okay. Just you have no clue what's out there with ServiceTitan that you're not even using unless you have someone helping you with it.
That's right.
And I think the other side of that also is as you grow, you're managing more things. So, if you're a smaller company and you're just onboarding with ServiceTitan and you're figuring out how it works, I mean, you've already taken a huge step forward in getting off of paper and, getting into a well-automated system. And then when you get to the point where, like Quality's 5 years with ServiceTitan, massive growth the last few years for the business. Well, there's all these things that we never paid attention to before or really weren't important to pay attention to before. But now like, payroll is one of them. Cassie and I've been talking about this for 2 weeks, trying to figure out the best way to automate it because the company has gotten so big and there's so many different things that we've had to do within the business as it's grown that we kind of need to tweak ServiceTitan again so that we're actually getting the maximum utilization out of the money we're paying for this amazing software that so many of us are on now.
Jenny, that you probably see this specific, like what she's saying is, I remember when we signed up for ServiceTitan and they would say, well, you need to call your CSM and have that feature turned on. And I was like, what in the world? Like turn on all the features. And back then I didn't get it. Right. And now I know that they couldn't turn on all the features because I wasn't capable of handling them all.
Right.
And so because it's too robust. And so the people that get on this, like, I hate ServiceTitan and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you're the problem, respectfully. Like, you are the problem. I will tell you, it's us. We're the problem. If something's not working right, it's us because we don't have something turned on or we had it turned off for a certain reason or we did a workaround around it. And so, but what, like Heather said, there were so many pieces that were turned off for us 3 years ago that we need now. And we don't even know that we need them. And we don't even know what it's called to ask for it to be turned on.
That's right. So I've always joked that should be early on. That should be our tagline. I don't know what I don't know. Because it was verbatim the most common thing that contractors were coming to tell us. And I love what you said about ServiceTitan. ServiceTitan is phenomenal. They offer an incredible amount of support. With their CSM teams and product developers, like nothing I've ever seen for a SaaS company. And I do believe that's because they've kept that people-centric focus. They understand how people-heavy this industry is. And so even having access to that layer of support is phenomenal. But when we think about how to get the most of this tool, it's continuous management. Continuous improvement. And once you think you've mastered it, you re-review the process, you move to a different or more advanced configuration. And that's where bringing in third-party professional services can help alleviate the burden because you're talking about, and I always tell this, I always bring in this analogy. my partner and I, as our business grew, we outgrew our payroll software and moved to a full HRIS platform.
Mm-hmm.
We are literal experts in software implementation. This is what we do day in and day out for hundreds of contractors. We implemented this new platform, which is quite robust, back in September of last year. We are still finding surprises that we just didn't know to ask. We didn't know enough about that particular software. And so I try to bring that relatability, to your point, to contractors, because it is an incredibly powerful tool and you systemically work toward getting the most out of it. It's not something that happens overnight. It takes a lot of intentional work and a plan, as well as an understanding. We find that we can, when we evaluate a contractor's account, we can go section by section and bring to light the opportunity that's there, whether it's poor workflows, data integrity issues, using parts of the system, or parts of the software that are available that you're not using. We put all of this in a report and bring to light for the contractor owner what is actually going on. Once you're empowered with that data, with that understanding of what's happening inside the account, then you can make business decisions like, you know what, payroll is costing me too much. From an admin perspective, I want to move this to the top of the list. Or I'm getting ready to enter maintenance season. My maintenance contracts are a mess. Let's get in and tackle that. So that's how we work on the ServiceTitan side, or the software optimization side. But again, going back to what we realized with the emergence of all of this new tech, now you have what I call a broken platform, a broken infrastructure, but you're building on top of that with all of these additional tools. And so what I've begun calling it is that I think we're in a state of perceived efficiency with adopting tech, where we're buying all of these tools, all of these products that promise to operationalize our business or increase our profit by automating processes. But when they're not being adopted with an intentional plan that matches our business and our budget goals. So Heather, going back to that we talked about earlier, I'd love to share some insight in building a tech budget. That's where we're
really hitting the nail on the head. You're really, really hitting the nail on the head, because, you know, contractors, as you said, and I would agree with you 100%, they don't know what they don't know. They know that there's all these things out there. We all go to Pantheon. We go, you know, to all these trade conferences and we see what's available, and it's like new and shiny, and it's like, oh, this is going to make my business amazing.
This is going to be it. This is the silver bullet.
And then they buy it, and we've all done it. And it's like, well, okay. And we implement a portion of it and we think, okay, this is going to make our business better. This is going to take our business to the next level, without a way to evaluate if it's working, without a way to evaluate if we're truly getting maximum utilization out of whatever tool it is that we purchased. And I'm loving this conversation so much, because you're working on the marketing software implementation side. And I have the same hurdle in the past when I've helped contractors with financials and understanding, you know, the KPIs that are coming out of a financial statement and what they mean, and then trying to gear that. So continue, but I just wanted to make a point that it's just so valuable what you're here dropping nuggets right now.
Thank you.
I am excited to get off this. I'm not going to rush this, but when we're done, I'm excited for Heather to message you and book our demo, or book this for us. Because I'm like, we need that, girl. We need it.
But we got to the point, and it has spanned. So we're not just marketing focused. That is my background, but we are not only experts in all of ServiceTitan, so multi-certified. Our team is intentionally trained internally to consult on every aspect of the software. Those are learning tracks that we've developed internally to Powerhouse. But what we began to realize is, imagine the feeling of, I'm spending, like Cassie said, a small fortune on ServiceTitan, but I know that there's a better way that I can tweak it or optimize it, where I can increase profits because I'm leveraging technology properly, and I'm freeing my people up to do revenue producing activity, right? So you have that burden that I'm paying a fortune, but there's that monkey on my back that says, I know I'm not getting the most of this software, but this guy that I really look up to in the industry said he's using this tool, so I'm going to buy it because that's really going to fix my problem. And then, this other company told me that they have this AI automation. Now you have a very expensive tool plus a bunch of third-party tools that you're paying for. There's no plan. There's no documented process about who's owning it internally. And so you have this feeling of chaos.
Yeah.
And I keep bringing back this analogy, like we've got to stop the noise. There's so much noise telling contractors, buy this, do this, get this tech. What we have to
Praise the Lord, amen, girl.
Yes.
I want to say that, like, stop the noise. And one thing, like, I want to touch on that for a second. So last year in 2024, we went to all the events, all the things, talked to all the people as of the podcast or as owners and employees of quality, both of those things. And then in the fall of 2024, I was freaking exhausted. And we had another event that was it fall or was that the spring of this year, Heather? One of the events that I just called Heather and I said, we can't go to this event. And she was like, I'm glad that you're saying this because it wasn't just the event. It had nothing to do with the event, but we had been so busy and so we were chasing the noise, right? And so this year, our business has grown more than it's ever grown. We have implemented things that, and we have gotten a grasp over things, and we've moved buildings, and we've had a lot of crazy irons in the fire. But one of the biggest pieces that I can throw back to some of that is that I shut out all the noise.
Yes.
Like, quit talking to me about your shit, respectfully.
Yeah.
I want to hear it, but show me factual, not some graph that you made. I want to hear about the AI and the automations, but I want, when I message you for it and you say, well, it's not fully built yet. You know, people are doing this. They're pushing this stuff on social media and acting like it's going to save your life as a contractor to bait you in to their other thing. And then whenever you message them, the people who know, and you're like, hey, tell me about this. It's not fully built. What are we doing? And we've made the noise so loud that people are losing their damn minds. And
And money, losing money. Well, and if you think about that, so you talk about going to trade shows and everything is so glamorous at the trade shows. Actually, we started sending out after Pantheon primarily, but like a now what? Let's get a plan in place. So let's document what are the tools you were interested in? How do they apply to your business? What gap or need are they feeling? Do you have the capacity to implement it? Who's going to manage it? So really walking through and inviting a contractor to think, if I actually buy this tool, will I get the most out of it? And I really want to stress the accountability part. Because not all the tools are bad. Not all the tools are half-baked and going to market. Some are really great solutions. There's a lot of great solutions out there, but it's going to take work on the contractor side. How are you going to manage the tool? Or let's talk about like the AI ride-along software. So you've got two big players, Sales Pro and Rilla. And if you think about it in its functionality, it's brilliant. Right? So you can do coaching at scale. You can highlight opportunity or cross-train your technicians. A lot of good things that have come out of that. But if you don't have a trained manager internally, a service manager or sales manager who is reading those reports, who is monitoring the data, who's creating actionable plans of how to put that data to use, then what are you really paying for? Why are you paying for all of that technology? And so what we wanted to do, I started to think like, it's got to stop. Contractors are overwhelmed. They're losing money. And we're in that state of perceived efficiency. Like if I just buy this one more tool, my business is going to run it more, I'm going to be able to automate more. And so I started to think, and going really back to early on with marketing, and when I saw that big tech shift in marketing with the Google algorithm and digital marketing, is tech has outgrown a contractor's area of expertise. Not to say that a contractor should not know their tech. That's actually what we advocate for, is education and training. But should an owner operator be solely responsible for setting up all of ServiceTitan, for evaluating all the tools in the market, for building SOPs, for providing training to their department. Like you said earlier, owner operators or any position in a company has so many things that they're focusing on. And now to learn a new tool, to learn 10 new tools can be quite overwhelming. And so something gives. So what we wanted to create was, okay, so now we've identified this problem. We know what's going on in the industry.
Right.
How can we solve this? How can we be that advocate for our contractors? And so I started to think, well, ERP, enterprise resource planning. So you have, billion-dollar corporations that bring on professional services teams to evaluate and build a tech stack, right? That makes sense for their business. We had to do that for the industry because we're to the point now where there's so much tech that can operationalize a business, but is there an intentional plan that first begins on getting the most out of what you're already paying for? Have we exhausted your FSM? Do we know that you are using ServiceTitan correctly? Do we know that you have explored all of their modules or their pro products? Have we determined that this is not right for your business? Then we evaluate tools that we can bring on to enhance the company. But Heather, to your point, and I hope you'll appreciate this, it has to be tied back to an intentional budget. That was another thing that started to blow me away was when I would work with our clients and some of our larger contractors, I would ask, well, how much are you spending on your tech in total? And that was an exercise to think about. And then I would start to get reports that showed what they were spending on ServiceTitan and Zapier and very obvious tools. And I said, okay, well, how about your marketing? So I see that you're paying for Marketing Pro and ServiceTitan, but you didn't give me your digital marketing partners budget. And they said, well, I didn't think that was tech, but are they running email campaigns for you? Yes, they are through MailChimp. Okay, so now we've identified a redundancy. So you've got a digital marketing company that you're paying for email marketing, but you're not classifying that in your tech budget. And so it's really this cool exercise that we started to walk through and develop and tie that budget back to their growth goal. So the same rule of thumb that we developed on the marketing side all those years ago, we're taking that same principle to tech. And you allocate a certain percentage of your business growth goals to your tech stack. And you build the intentional plan after a business evaluation, and then you don't deviate from it.
Yeah, I love this conversation so much, and so much of it is relevant to us in what we're doing right now. And Kaylee, I know she's listening behind the screen. Kaylee, our guests probably know, our listeners probably know it. I don't know if you're aware, but she's our director of marketing for quality, but she's the manager of the podcast as well. So she's in every episode listening to everything. But we're going through this major shift right now in July, right? But by doing so, we have identified a lot of things that we were duplicate paying for, or we didn't have control of, or we thought we needed. And then, like you said, you go to these glamorous events, and then someone talks you into buying something, and then you get it, and then it's like you're throwing darts at the wall to see what's going to stick. But now you're in a contract, and how are you going to do that? And specifically, Rilla is a sponsor of our podcast, and we use Rilla. We love Rilla, and it has amazing information that we get. But every once in a while, about every 15 days or so, I'm like, hey, are y'all managing Rilla? And they are, but you can get really caught up and forget, And so there's all of these things, all of these like flashy lights that people are throwing at us. And I talked to someone yesterday because, like I said, the conversations that we've had in the past 7 days are just a lot different than I was expecting them to be. But there's a few people, this one guy, he was like, when I came into the trades from the industry that he came from, he said immediately I was like 80% of what these people are believing is bullshit. And I was like,
yeah.
And he was like, and I said, I can see what you're saying, because he said, there's really great things out there and there's really great things happening, but everything started hitting you guys so fast that between 2020 to now, that you all just started buying it.
Yes.
And then none of it made any sense. And then now you're all like, you're stuck in these contracts, or you're throwing money at something that you don't even know how to use, and it was never going to work correctly.
Yes. Yes. And so that kind of brings me back to where we see that it's a whole new group of individuals that have entered the industry from the tech side, and brilliant minds. And again, the goal behind some of these products, the intention is there. They want to provide a good product and a good service to contractors, but it's singularly focused. And you have to have the full holistic understanding of a contractor's business to understand the cause and effect of, if I adopt this product, how is this going to affect my team? How am I going to ensure that my team adopts it, that they're following the process? How does this impact my customers or my position in the market? And so it's thinking more holistically as opposed to that singular focus on one particular area of a business. And that's something that I really, I pride myself on at Powerhouse. Is my partner Pam and I, we both come from the trade. She's an engineer and comes from the OEM side. It wasn't necessarily our ServiceTitan expertise that made what we provided special in the beginning. It was our deep industry expertise.
Right.
Because it's one thing to know the tech, but if you don't know how to make the tech work for the business, and if you don't understand how a contractor's shop is run, or the pain points or the friction points that they'll experience internally, then you miss the boat. You can't think creatively. You can't think beyond the tech. And so we kept that as hiring best practice. Our whole team comes from the trades, because you can't teach that. You can't teach that experience. And so we're seeing that again. And we've built a partner network at Powerhouse that supports our contractor resource planning. So instead of ERP, we've named it contractor resource planning, because the intent is to work with a contractor to identify their business goals, learn what their company, who their company is today, where they want to be in 6 months. Are they expanding locations or adding another vertical? Understanding their business, understanding their budget, and then evaluating their tech stack. That allows us to identify the variance of, do you have overlap in tools? Do you have tools that you don't need because you're already paying for it? Then we present a revised tech stack that matches the business and budget discovery. But in order to provide these partner recommendations, we built a partner network of third-party products or services that we know, that we vetted, that our clients use, that we have a good relationship with, where we can work on implementation for the product or best use. So that when we're putting together that recommended tech stack, it's from a network of providers that we know firsthand, not the guy that's like halfway built his product or whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. I have enjoyed this conversation with you. There's so much here that I think we could chat forever.
Yeah.
But
100%.
If
this is such a good conversation.
I know. I want to. We definitely need to book a time to learn more for our specific business. But
I love that.
Before we wrap up, if there was like nothing else, if someone's listening and they took no other advice, what would be one thing that you would leave with our listeners?
That's a great question. Start with your FSM. Start with your FSM. Get to know what your FSM provides. So FSM, that's your field service management software, your ServiceTitan or Field Edge, or whatever platform that you're on. Get to know what it offers, and then start with one area of that. Master that area and go through a simple process of you're evaluating the needs. So for example, payroll. For your company. So starting with payroll, identifying what your FSM can do to automate or operationalize that task in your company, then identifying your business, who's going to own this, build out or implementation, who's going to document the process. Never underestimate the power of defining a workflow and writing it down. documenting it so that as your company grows and changes, you're not losing that plan. And start small, just one area at a time. If you try to look at the entirety of it, you'll get overwhelmed. So our best advice is start with one area, get to know the software, understand before you bring on another tool, reach out to your CSM and say, does ServiceTitan offer this? Tell me about it. Evaluate it. Don't just buy things without that evaluation process anymore, but always start small. And again, if you look at the whole picture, you might overwhelm and shut down.
Yeah, that's true. Take the small bites, take it small, or start small, and then go from there. If someone wanted to reach out to you, we'll make sure to get all of that information and leave it in our show notes. But what is your website?
It is mypowerhouse.group.
mypowerhouse.group.
There's a lot of information there about what we do, ways that we can help contractors. There's also a lot of free resources on there. At the top of our website, you'll see an events tab. We have an entire calendar around learning, educational events. We host inventory office hours for ServiceTitan, marketing office hours. We host a series of learning labs that are topic focused. So think accounting or memberships. If you don't know where to start, join one of those classes. Just sit in and listen and learn.
I love that. And immediately, Heather, I'm like, oh, girl, we're getting in immediately. So, well, Jenny, it was nice to meet you. It was nice to catch up with you and learn all about. To learn about Powerhouse Consulting Group. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really a pleasure.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review in Apple and make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.